What's going on, guys? Welcome to the UFC 281 post-fight. Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira was the main event, and UFC 281 as a whole was absolutely amazing. It was a great fight card. There was plenty of crazy finishes. The main event was absolute insanity. Regardless of the outcome, I absolutely loved the main event. Super exciting fight. We got a lot to talk about. Honestly, there's so many fights I want to talk about. I try to talk about the main notable fights, but honestly, all the way down through the prelims are really worth talking about for this card. So we're going to jump right into it here in a second. But guys, do me a favor, if you have not already, like this stream. I would greatly appreciate it if you like this stream, share this stream, all that good stuff. And also, if you're watching and you're not subscribed to the channel, go subscribe to the channel right this second. One other thing, I know you guys are going to be sending a bunch of messages in the chat. The second half of this stream, after we go over all the results, I will be reading through some questions. I'm not going to be able to catch up on every single one. I see the chat has already gone absolutely nuts while it took me 10 minutes to get here. But the second half of this stream, I will be reading through the chat and answering questions. If you submit a question, try to put a question mark or two, because I try to, sift through all these different questions in the live chat. All right, let's start off with the main event. UFC 281, Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. I mean, this fight was straight up insanity, and Israel Adesanya gets TKO'd in the 5th round. Let's see what the exact timing on it was. 2 minutes and 1 second into the 5th round, or yeah, I think it was into the 5th round, not left. I'm always get that confused kind of for some reason. But it's crazy. Pereira gets it done, and we're going to talk about it round by round, and then I'm going to give my overall thoughts on the fight. First round, Pereira looked very good in the first round. He was coming out. He was having great leg kicks. He was checking some kicks as well. Pereira was cutting. The one thing that I have to give credit for Pereira in this fight, I mean, his use of angles in this fight was absolutely amazing. But in this first round, they were trading leg kicks. They were trading body kicks. There was a little bit of clinch from Israel Adesanya in the first round. And up until the last 5 seconds, I thought that Pereira had clearly won the first round, but it was a very competitive round. But I thought Pereira had clearly taken the first round up until 5 seconds left in the round. Adesanya rocks him with a massive right behind the ear and then follows up with a left hand. Had there been 10 more seconds in the fight, we are talking about an Israel Adesanya first round KO. Alex Pereira was saved by the bell in the first round. Absolute insanity. This fight just got better and better and better throughout. The second round, you had Pereira still cutting off angles, still pumping the jab and snapping Izzy's head back. Izzy tried to clinch, kind of looked for like half-hearted takedowns, but it just seemed like his game plan was kind of, as Pereira would close that distance, he would grab the hands, try to parry, then clinch up. I felt like early on the clinches weren't really looking for the takedowns. He was just looking to clinch up and kind of break the rhythm of Pereira because he's just plotting forward. But Pereira was defending well. There was like half-hearted attempts at takedowns, but Pereira was defending well. And in this round, Pereira clearly won this round. He was cutting off the ring well. He was landing some good shots, pumping the jab. The jab was snapping the head of Adesanya back. And the main thing that Pereira, and this is a common theme throughout the fight, the number one key to success for Pereira was putting Izzy's back against the fence. And he was able to do it in this fight. And in the last 10 seconds of round 2, Pereira shot in on a takedown and got it. The second he got the takedown, the round ended. But that was a clear Pereira round. So you had 1-1 going into the third round. The third round, it really looked like Adesanya was taking over. My prediction going into this fight, I had Adesanya 4th round TKO. I thought Pereira would fade and eventually get finished. And I really thought my prediction was going to come true while I was watching this fight. You look at that third round, Adesanya started landing good shots. There wasn't much going on up until Pereira kind of engaged. It was like pressing forward. I didn't get to watch the replay, so I can't remember exactly what it was. But Pereira kind of pressed forward. Adesanya got the body lock and tripped Pereira to the ground. And this looked like it was going to be the beginning of the end. Pereira kept trying to get up, but Adesanya used that back body lock, was controlling him. And not only that, he would cement the position and then land some hard shots on the ground. Cement the position, land some hard shots on the ground, and basically controlled him for the majority of the third round. So then you had 2-1 going into the fourth round. The fourth round looked really good for Izzy, and I really thought, while I was watching, I said, okay, Izzy's actually going to catch this finish. Pereira was kind of plotting forward. He was starting to slow down. Izzy was kind of starting to piece him up. There were some good hard body kicks by Israel Adesanya in this round. Some good leg kicks from Israel Adesanya in this round. Was landing some good shots with his hands as well. Towards the end of the round, like the last minute and a half or so, Pereira really started to put his foot on the gas. Like it's like he had a sense of urgency. Like he knew, okay, the fight's starting to wind down. This was actually my prediction. I thought Pereira would be behind on the scorecards. I thought he'd start pressing forward, getting super aggressive, and get clipped and KO'd. He did not. He started to look pretty good at the end of that fourth round, but Izzy still clearly took the fourth round. So then you had a fight where Izzy took the first round, Izzy took the third round, and Izzy took the fourth round. So going into the fifth round, Alex Pereira needed a finish. And Alex Pereira's corner told him he needed a finish. And Pereira came out immediately and started looking like he did in the first and second round, where he was just cutting off the angle. He wasn't following Izzy. He was cutting off the angle and keeping Izzy's back against the fence. And, I mean, I think he landed like a right hand, and then he snuck a left hook around the guard of Izzy, hurt Izzy badly, and then Izzy was just trying to use his head movement, but his hands were down low. Pereira started landing some good follow-up shots. Mark Goddard gave him all the time in the world. Pereira landed some nasty shots, and eventually the ref steps in, standing TKO for Alex Pereira in the fifth round. This immediately reminded me of Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards 2, but not completely the same. I do want to say, I don't want to harp on this too much. I just want to talk about this for a second. I do think the stoppage was a tad early. I know people are going to be complaining about the stoppage. It was a hair early. I do not think it affected the outcome. Adesanya, what I don't like about the stoppage is Adesanya, while he's leaning down, I seen his eyes looking up at Pereira. And he still was moving. He was labored. I think Pereira still would have finished him eventually. Probably been a more brutal finish. But I would have liked to seen a little, maybe 5 or 10 more seconds. One thing I forgot to mention, which actually was a key factor in that fifth round, Pereira checked the leg kick, and I believe it actually hurt Izzy. He fumbled, he fell backwards, flipped, ended up back on his feet. But that was really when the sense of urgency started going crazy for Alex Pereira and eventually led him to the finish. Now, this was a great performance by both guys. I think both guys' stock went up in this fight. I think, you look at Israel Adesanya, people call him boring, and they say, oh, the fights are terrible. This was one of the best fights I've ever seen. This was an elite-level kickboxing match. And, I know actually it's not really, but I'm saying when it was on the feet, it was an elite-level kickboxing match. Adesanya mixed in the grappling. It was a phenomenal fight. Pereira, his angles and his ability to cut off Israel Adesanya and back him against the fence is what made this fight so much fun. And both guys were tagging each other. There was a couple times where Pereira landed the jab, snapped Izzy's head back. And I just think the nonstop pressure was what led Alex Pereira to the finish. And also, Adesanya is far too comfortable with his hands down. And I know the punch that finished him was kind of a left hook that snuck around the guard. But Adesanya backing up against the fence and having your hands down at your waist is never going to be a recipe for success. I know he moves very well, but he ends up getting clipped in that fifth round. I'm not saying with his hands low, but I'm just talking about the fight in general. This was just an incredible fight, okay? Both guys were landing good shots. There was a head kick that landed for Pereira. There was a couple shots that were very close. This was a super competitive fight. This was a fight where I really thought that both guys there was so much talk about the first fight between these two and the second fight between these two. That was 5 years ago. 6 years ago, I think, for the first one. Or maybe it's 4 and 5 years. I don't remember exactly. But nonetheless, there was so much talk of those first two fights. These guys have rapidly improved. Both guys showed elite level striking here tonight. Both guys showed incredible heart. Both guys showed great chins. Both guys showed good footwork. It was incredible. Both guys showed good leg kicks, good body kicks. There was nothing not to love about this fight. And Pereira was just a better man tonight. He was able to get it done. Obviously, had Adesanya been able to edge out that 5th round and use his footwork and just avoid Pereira for that entire 5th round, Pereira would have lost on the scorecards, in my opinion. I mean, I don't think that's really up for debate. I think pretty clearly Adesanya won 1, 3, and 4. But you never know. That first round, maybe the judges didn't realize how bad Pereira was hurt, and maybe Pereira gets that first round, because I had it for Pereira before Adesanya hurt him badly. But an incredible fight. Pereira looked great. Adesanya looked great. And there's going to be a narrative after this fight. And I said this going in, and I'm sure somebody's probably already said it in the chat, honestly. There is going to be a narrative that, well, Israel Adesanya is 0-3 against Alex Pereira. He doesn't deserve an immediate rematch. We're talking about 2 different sports. And if you don't think Israel Adesanya deserves a rematch after being a long reigning middleweight champion, you were absolutely crazy. He was up on the scorecards going into the 5th round. It was an amazing fight. Why would you not want to see that rematch other than the fact you don't like Izzy? That's the only reason not to see the rematch. And I hate to break it to you, if Pereira goes on to fight Whitaker or Vettori, he has a good chance because of his power, but if it gets to the grappling, it's not going to end well. And another thing I want to mention, Pereira, I know we talked about Pereira's size and how good Pereira was, or how big Pereira was, and how tall Pereira was. When I actually saw them in the cage against each other, I could not believe the size discrepancy. Alex Pereira was massive in that cage. And he showed it. He used his physicality. He pressed forward. He cut off the angles. And, he's an elite level striker as well as Adesanya. And he made it count when he needed to. He landed that left hook. The left hook of Alex Pereira is an absolute nuke. And he was able to find it in that 5th round. And I really think what led to that is that check kick in the 5th round. When I initially saw the check kick and the way Izzy fell, I honestly thought his leg was broken because it had a dramatic effect on him. And I guess there is a chance that Israel Adesanya, it's almost definite. I think that hindered his ability for movement. Pereira was already doing very well cutting off the angles and landing shots up against the fence, because when Pereira is able to get you with your back against the fence, guess what? Instead of having 4 ways to move, you can go forward, you can go backwards, you can go left, you can go right, and you can have Pereira guessing. Now, instead of having Pereira guessing, you can only go left or right. So I really think that's what Izzy's downfall was. I don't think he used his footwork enough in this fight. And Izzy in the past has used very good footwork, but he's also had a propensity to substitute footwork for his movement at his waist. And I think at some points when he had his back against the fence, he should have had a more sense of urgency to circle out. And I know Pereira was cutting him off very well, but I just think the combination of Pereira's pressure, his power, the fact that he checked that leg kick in the 5th round, the fact that he knew he was down on the scorecards. They told him in his corner, you have 5 minutes to become champion. He went out there, he put the pace on Izzy, and he was able to get a knockout. And now he is the new middleweight champion. What an incredible fight, though, guys. If you didn't enjoy that fight, I don't know what to tell you. You don't like MMA. And I know Izzy mixed in the grappling, and people are going to say, oh, well, that's because he's scared of Pereira, this or that. I know there's going to be some weirdos, there's people that just absolutely despise Izzy. This is MMA, because I thought, okay, if Izzy wins this fight now, people are going to say, oh, well, he won, but he had to grapple. The sport is MMA, but Pereira showed, improvements in his grappling. Also, I think we all knew going in that Israel Adesanya's offensive grappling is not the greatest. He's not a, Robert Whitaker with the takedowns. He's not a Marvin Vettori with the grappling as well. Adesanya has very good defensive grappling, but he's not, Habib style looking for takedowns. He did very well when he used it. Some of the attempts I really think were half-hearted, but Pereira showed good takedown defense nonetheless. Maybe Adesanya was really trying for those takedowns. There was a couple instances where he actually really did try. I'm not trying to underscore those, but Pereira showed great takedown defense, because after that 3rd round, I said, if I'm Adesanya, I shoot, because even if you think, and even if your pride tells you, okay, I can finish this guy on the feet and I can beat this guy on the feet. I hurt him badly at the end of the first round. If you had an avenue to victory that is much safer and a much higher probability of you winning without you potentially getting caught by a shot like you did in the 5th round, why wouldn't you take it? And there was some positions where he looked like he had Pereira off balance and wasn't able to get him down. So shout out to Pereira for the takedown defense. Shout out to Adesanya for, just being a well-rounded fighter. And what an incredible fight. I love this fight. And if you don't think Adesanya deserves a rematch, you are delusional. You were disconnected from reality. Those 2 kickboxing fights do not count. That's a different sport. Okay, that is a completely different sport. Adesanya is the long reigning champion, and now he's lost his belt. And I get it. The kickboxing matches are very interesting. The fact that, now does he have his number? Because Pereira now has beaten him 3 times. I get that. Does Alex Pereira have his number? Well, we're going to find out because we are going to get a rematch in 2023. There's no other fight to make. There is no other fight to make. But I absolutely love this fight. And I think both guys' stock went through the roof. I know Pereira is an absolute monster. What he did to Strickland was just savagery. What he did to Andreas Michailidis was savagery. But what he did to Adesanya in such a complete performance, to be down on the scorecards, to get out grappled for an entire round, to get almost finished and saved by the bell at the end of the first round, all to come back in that 5th round and land his patented left hook and put him out up against the fence or TKO him against the fence. Incredible performance. I can't wait to see him run it back. And honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing him run it back 5 more times. Who do I favor in a rematch? I don't know because now Adesanya has to be, regardless of what he says, the guy has to be in his mind now. He beat me twice in kickboxing. Now he came to MMA and beat me. Even though I was winning the fight, I think Adesanya, just an early prediction, in a rematch, I think that Adesanya will implement the grappling a little bit more, but I think Pereira will know that. And he'll be training with Glover, worried about the takedowns, worried about the grappling even more as well. So that makes for a highly anticipated rematch. Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira 2 with Pereira as the champion. Sign me up, guys. I absolutely cannot wait for that rematch. But I think that's pretty much it. As far as the main event, I want to get to some of these other fights. One other thing I will mention is I think it was in that 3rd round when Adesanya took him down. There was a couple scrambles, and I think it was in that 3rd round where Pereira started looking for a leg lock and ended up costing him the position. He ended up getting rode out with that back body lock. He's hard to get down, especially because of his height and his strength and his just pure mass. I mean, Pereira's huge, but once you get him down, you can control him. So I think that's the key factor. I think he has to work on his ability to get up because his takedown defense is good and it's only going to improve for a rematch. So I'm really looking forward to it. Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira 2 in MMA. And I think it's the only fight to book right now. What are you going to want to watch? Robert Whittaker versus Alex Pereira? No. Okay, no. Alex Pereira versus Marvin Vettori? Absolutely not. The only fight to make is Israel Adesanya in a rematch. Moving on to the co-main event. And guys, do me a favor. If you have not already, like this stream. And I will be getting to questions afterwards. Or the second half of this stream, I will be getting to questions. And also, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I would greatly appreciate it. Co-main event. And by the way, guys, I did terrible in predictions on this card. Not just for videos. I'm talking about for full card predictions. I think I ended up going like 6 and 8. For predictions. So not the greatest card for predictions for me. Last 2 pay-per-views have been garbage for me, honestly. Moving down to the co-main event, I actually got this one right. I did not get the exact method. But Weili Zhang has restored legitimacy to the women's strawweight division. I am so happy Weili Zhang defeats Carla Esparza at 1 minute and 5 seconds into the 2nd round. Via rear naked choke. And this was actually, I don't want to say it's a surprising performance because I expected Weili Zhang to finish her. But Carla Esparza put up a better fight than I thought. Not that she put up an excellent fight, but she put up a better fight than I thought because the first round, you could tell Weili was really thinking about the grappling of Carla Esparza. And she got clipped with a couple jabs as she was coming in. But overall, Weili's striking was just too much for her. She landed some good kicks. Carla caught a kick of Weili's in the first round. Was looking for takedowns, but Weili's hips were so good. Scrambled out of the position, landed in better positions like down on her knees. Landed some good shots on Carla. Weili clearly took the first round in my opinion. But Carla Esparza had a decent showing because, in my opinion, going into this fight, I thought that Weili was going to go out there and just absolutely decimate her in the first round. And she was able to survive. Well, the second round came along, and we all know what happened in the second round. Carla Esparza shoots on the takedown. Weili, again, great hips, kind of scrambles, ends up in the crucifix position. She has Carla Esparza's arm trapped by her legs, and then she's looking to get that choke with the other hand. And she has one arm around the neck of Carla, and the other hand is one-on-one with one of Carla's arms. And the second she gets that arm free, she fights and gets that arm free, she's able to secure the choke hand. And basically Carla's fighting off a choke with one arm. And Weili Zhang wins via rear naked choke in the second round. And, Weili Zhang has shown she's evolved quite a bit. I think her wrestling was really good in this fight. She wasn't afraid to scramble with Carla Esparza. She wasn't afraid to initiate the grappling with Carla Esparza. She wasn't worried about throwing the kicks because Carla Esparza was going to take them and take her down. And Weili Zhang's your new champion. And I really think I already know the next fight for the women's strawweight division. We are probably going to see Weili Zhang make her first title defense of her new belt, I guess you would say, against Amanda Lemos, who just defeated Marina Rodriguez, and that's an absolute banger of a women's strawweight fight. But Carla, we know Carla's one-dimensional. The striking is god-awful. It's labored. It's slow. The grappling is good, but when you're fighting someone so strong and athletic as Weili Zhang, it's just going to be hard to get her down and just control her. And the kicks of Weili were too much. And Carla, I really don't think Carla really stood a chance. She surprised me with how much of a fight she put up, because I really thought she was just going to get bludgeoned in the first round. But Weili Zhang went out there and proved she's a better fighter, which we all already kind of knew. One thing I will say, Carla Esparza will never fight for UFC gold again. I tweeted out that even if Carla Esparza was to win 10 fights in a row, I do not believe the UFC would give her another title shot. I absolutely do not believe that. So, it doesn't matter. It's like almost like Tyron Woodley. Like the UFC hated Tyron Woodley. I don't think the UFC likes Carla Esparza. Super thirsty. Too much talking. We're already a half hour almost into the stream. But I think they do Weili Zhang, Amanda Lemos, Carla Esparza. She can go to PFL or something. I don't know. She's never touching UFC gold again. The UFC will never give her an opportunity to touch UFC gold again because of her terrible fight style. And I'm just really, I forgive Carla. I forgive you, Carla, for what you did at UFC 170 or UFC 274. I was begrudging you because of that performance, but everything is right with the world now. Weili Zhang whooped your ass and finished you in the second round. Not much to talk about in that fight. Honestly, they were who we thought they were. Weili's more athletic, faster, has better striking. Carla has really good wrestling. Wasn't able to take advantage of it. And we already talked about where they go from here, so I don't know really what you want to say. Other than, I do believe Weili Zhang's grappling and wrestling has vastly improved over the last year and a half or so. And I think she's going to be very tough to beat. And there's a chance now we could see a trilogy between her and Rose. I don't know if the UFC is going to book that anytime soon because of the shit fest that Rose put on at UFC 274. But Rose is a very popular women's MMA fighter. And there's a real chance that we could see that. Moving down to the featured fight on the main card. Whew, I'm still sweating from this one. Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. This one I almost got to a T in my breakdown. By the way, on the main card, I got the Hooker prediction correct. I picked Edgar, so I got him wrong. I got the Poirier prediction correct. I got the Weili prediction correct, and I almost got the Adesanya prediction correct. So I almost went 4-1 on the main card, but I ended up going 3-2 on the main card. Chandler versus Poirier was everything I expected and more. As that fight was winding down, because it ended in the third round, Dustin Poirier wins via rear naked choke in the third round. I really was thinking, damn, it happened again. I wish this fight was 5 rounds. Every time I've complained about a fight not being 5 rounds, it ended up ending, and I was like, damn, I really wish we would have had 5 rounds for this fight. And ultimately, we didn't need it. Dustin Poirier got the third round rear naked choke, and this was a crazy, wild, insane battle while it lasted. The first round, Chandler came out and was just throwing wild haymakers. And while it looked crazy, and it was crazy the fact that Chandler was throwing wild winging punches, a lot of these were hitting the forearms of Dustin Poirier. Some of them might have snuck through a little bit, but Dustin Poirier backing up against the fence, shelling up against the fence, and Chandler shoots in on a takedown as Poirier's, shelling up really high. Chandler shoots in, gets a double leg, controls him for a bit, but Dustin works his way back to his feet and clips Chandler badly, hurts Chandler badly, starts swarming Chandler up against the fence. And unlike Chandler's early barrage, most of them were getting through. And Chandler was getting brutalized, bloodied up. And I said this in the prediction video I did for this fight. Once Dustin Poirier gets you hurt, he does not take his foot off the gas. And he absolutely started wrecking Chandler up against the fence. 5-10 more seconds, this fight is over. Dustin Poirier, your winner, first round TKO. He ends the round with a brutal. He ends the round with a brutal standing elbow, and Chandler's just left a bloody mess up against the fence. And I said, okay, it's over. Chandler's done. He had his barrage. He had his takedown. The reason he doesn't wrestle, just hump guys to death is because he doesn't have the cardio for it. And he had the takedown early. He had the barrage early. He landed some decent kicks, and he was, getting out of the way of some kicks. And it's crazy because Chandler plots forward, and he's just sinking all his weight, just looking to explode. I mean, the guy is so explosive. But second round, I said, it's over for Chandler. I'm confident Chandler's about to get finished. Chandler comes out. And by the way, it might have been a 10-8 round for the first round for Poirier. Because, and I know people are going to say, well, Chandler had some shots and had the takedown. I mean, he was so close to getting finished. I think it has to be a 10-8 for Poirier. Second round, they come out. I'm like, okay, Chandler's about to get finished by Dustin Poirier. And Chandler shoots in on a takedown, gets him down right away, controls him on the ground basically for the entire round, and lands some good ground and pound, gets the back of Dustin Poirier, is bleeding all over his face. The nose of Chandler was just leaking everywhere. There was a big glop of I can't even describe it. It just fell right on Poirier's mouth. Poirier's up against the fence. Chandler's looking for the rear naked. One thing I did want to mention that happened in this second round, there were some egregious fouls that need to be talked about. I didn't see it live when this one happened, but there was some fish hooking. And if you don't know what fish hooking is, it's Chandler was sticking his fingers in his mouth. That's completely illegal in MMA. The other one that I thought was completely egregious, and I thought the fight should have been stood up because it was that bad, is Chandler threw 6 to 8 hard, heavy, ground and pound shots to the back of the head of Poirier when he was up against the fence. So I thought that was completely egregious. The ref saw it. He swatted away the hands twice. I don't know how you don't stand him up from that position. I don't know how you don't stand him up. Egregious reffing. But anyway, Chandler survives. I don't really think he was ever super close to getting finished. But you could make a case this is a 10-8 round for Chandler. So you could have 2 10-8 rounds. 10-8 round for Poirier and a 10-8 round for Chandler going into the third round. Third round, Chandler looks to wrestle again. And he looks for a big slam. He picks up Poirier over top his head. And he looks to slam Poirier. Poirier immediately using his hips, looking to get in a better position as they land immediately before Chandler can even cement the position. And Poirier already out and ends up kind of in a a back mount position almost, but it was almost like a half guard as well. It was a weird position. I don't even know what to call it. Poirier starts landing some good ground and pound shots. Chandler tries to explode to his feet. Dustin Poirier locks up a body triangle and then immediately starts looking for the rear naked choke. And at this point, Chandler's just gassed, and Dustin Poirier gets the rear naked choke in the third round to win the fight. Who would have predicted Dustin by submission? Because Chandler's jiu-jitsu defense is amazing. His submission defense is amazing. We've seen it in the Charles Oliveira fight. I would have never picked Poirier by submission. I thought he was going to TKO him in the third round. Fight of the year, maybe. One of the greatest fights of all time. I mean, this card was amazing, start to finish for the most part. Absolutely love this fight. Both guys' stock goes up, but at the end, I feel like this is a fight that I really got to a T outside of the method. What was going to win this fight for Dustin Poirier, his stamina, his durability, and he has crisper boxing. And Chandler just doesn't have the ability to do what he does in the first round as far as his explosiveness, as far as his wrestling. He doesn't have the ability to do that over the course of 3 or 4 rounds. He just doesn't have that ability. So, wild fight. Both guys had a good showing. It was exactly what I expected for the most part. Chandler looking good early. Poirier looking good late. What an amazing fight. What an amazing fight. Poirier back on the winning track. His last fight was in December against Charles Oliveira. Both guys need some time off after this fight. So I don't know, where does Chandler go from here? He needs some significant time off. But guess what? Conor McGregor needs 6 months in the USADA testing pool. So you're looking at about, depending on when Conor gets off the PEDs and gets back into the testing pool, you're probably looking at June, July for a Conor McGregor return, which I think will be International Fight Week. And I think the UFC should make Conor McGregor Michael Chandler. They're both on losing streaks. They both last lost to Dustin Poirier. It's time to book it. That's the fight to make. Chandler said he'll go up to 170. Chandler is absolutely ripped. I mean, I don't even know how he makes 155. He's so jacked. So I think you book Chandler versus Conor McGregor. For Dustin, he's kind of in a weird spot because I don't think he deserves another third title shot, but it is a new champion. But at the same time, you look what Chandler was able to do to him. Islam is going to take him down and end up choking him out. It's going to happen. So I'm not sure if that's something I want to revisit. Do you book Poirier versus Fiziev? I don't know. I don't think that's right to do that to Poirier. So maybe you do Poirier Beneil, but I think Beneil's deserving of a shot. So, I mean, it's a tricky situation, but Poirier could really fight anyone at this point. Poirier may end up fighting Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor may beg the UFC, say, I need a 4th fight. I broke my leg. TKO, doctor stoppage. I need a 4th fight. So, I'm really looking forward to whoever they fight next. I mean, there's really no bad matchups you can make. Michael Chandler, Conor McGregor would be amazing. Michael Chandler, Beneil Dariush would be amazing. Michael Chandler, Rafael Fiziev would be amazing, even though he definitely gets starched out. Dustin Poirier, Rafael Fiziev would be amazing. But this is an amazing fight. It's a high-level fight. But one of the most important things for me about a high-level fight is a fight that answers questions. And for me, this has just told me what I already knew. As far as the co-main event and the featured fight, a.k.a. Poirier versus Chandler, both those fights just told me what I already knew. Poirier looked exactly how I expected him to look. Chandler looked exactly how I expected him to look. Was it a super exciting fight? Yes. I'm not complaining about it by any means. I absolutely loved it. But it really didn't. I mean, did it tell anybody else anything new? I don't think so. Both of those guys are who we thought they were. And Poirier is able to get it done. Poirier has that amazing defense and that shell, has crisp boxing, more technical boxing, the durability, the stamina. And Poirier gets it done with that. Moving down the card, we're gonna kind of go rapid fire because we're already almost 40 minutes into the stream. I try to make these streams about an hour and a half, or less than an hour and a half or so more people can go back and rewatch them. So we're gonna kind of go rapid fire through the rest of them, but not. I mean, I'm gonna spend a little bit more time on the main card fights. Frankie Edgar, Chris Gutierrez. Yeah. Brutal first round KO for Chris Gutierrez. Frankie Edgar stiffened up with his whole family watching. And I know this isn't really about the fight. Why do these people continue to bring their kids? Is this some kind of sick fetish? Sam Alvey loves for his kids to watch him get brain damage. Frankie, you're at the tail end of your career. You've been finishing like 3 out of your last 5 fights brutally. And you're bringing your kids to watch you fight Chris Gutierrez in your retirement fight. Super unfortunate. Frankie Edgar just ain't got it no more, guys. He ain't got it anymore. The chin's gone. The chin used to be his strong suit. It's gone. What is absolutely baffling to me, and I said this in the prediction video as well, Frankie Edgar used to fight in the lightweight division. How is it possible he's fighting at bantamweight now and he's still undersized? Chris Gutierrez looked massive compared to Frankie Edgar, in my opinion. Absolute insanity, but Chris Gutierrez, not taking enough away from him. Dude started just bashing Frankie early, landed some good combinations, some good leg kicks, a spinning back fist at one point I thought was going to put Frankie out. Frankie just looked slow. He was missing punches. He was whiffing on leg kicks, leaning forward. Footwork isn't what it used to be. Chin isn't what it used to be. Striking technical ability isn't what it used to be. And he's kind of ducking in and he's pressing forward like he typically does. Chris Gutierrez throws a knee right up the middle and just flatlines him. Really disappointed to see Frankie Edgar go out like that. You know, I would have preferred maybe he loses a decision. I thought Frankie could get it done against a guy like Chris Gutierrez, which is why I picked him via decision. But I should have known the young always eat the old in this sport. Moving down the card to a fight that I was quite embarrassed just to watch. You had Dan Hooker defeating Claudio Puelles, I think is how you say his name. I keep calling him Claudio Puelles, but I think it's Puelles. Dan Hooker, TKO, second round against Claudio Puelles. Embarrassing performance from Puelles. First round, Dan Hooker just spamming kicks, landing some good shots. Puelles just, looking to pull guard, ends up in like a knee bar situation on the ground. Dan Hooker relaxes. At one point, it looks like Puelles has him in trouble, looking for like a straight knee bar. It looked like Dan Hooker oil checked him in the first round. But Dan Hooker staying super relaxed, throwing some good ground and pound shots. Eventually gets back to his feet. Puelles just spamming takedowns. Second round, same thing. Terrible entries. I saw this in the lead up to the fight, and this was one I actually picked fairly accurately. I picked Dan Hooker via second round TKO. Puelles, honestly, guys, I know this isn't really intelligent analysis. Puelles' strategy was the strategy of a dog dragging his ass on the carpet trying to get rid of a dingleberry. Okay, that's what he was doing. Every time Dan Hooker started to strike with him, he was just falling to his ass and dragging his ass against the canvas. Looked like a dog dragging his ass on the carpet. It was embarrassing. He was getting lit up on the feet, started eating body kicks. And I'm going to be honest, I think he quit in this fight. Don't get me wrong, the body kicks were all right, but on the replay, the one that finished him, there was like 3 straight body kicks that dropped him. It looked like he just didn't want to be in there anymore. He just didn't have what it took to get him down. Dan Hooker's takedown defense was too good. The one time he kind of got him to engage with him on the ground, he wasn't able to submit him. And Puelles is like, you know what? I'm going to live to drag my ass on the canvas another day. And Dan Hooker gets back on the winning track. TKO's Claudio Puelles in the second round. This puts Dan Hooker at least, back in the win column. I don't know how much to make of the win, really, just because I wasn't super high on Puelles at all. I knew he had good jiu-jitsu and good submissions. But Dan Hooker back on the winning track. He had a tough run. Islam Makhachev finishes him in the first round. Arnold Allen finishes him in the first round. Had that war with Dustin Poirier that he lost. So, good to see him get back on the winning track and a solid performance from him. Basically, the kicks of Dan Hooker were just too much for Puelles. The striking of Puelles is just, there's levels to this, and Dan Hooker's on a much higher level, and the takedowns just aren't there. Moving on to the prelims, Brad Riddell, Renato Moicano. Brad Riddell loses first. Well, let me restart that. Renato Moicano wins, defeats Brad Riddell via first round rear naked choke. Brad Riddell just really had nothing to offer here, Once Moicano, I can't remember I can't remember how he got him to the ground. There were so many fights tonight. I got to go back and rewatch some of these. But Moicano trips him to the ground or catches a kick or whatever it was. Jumps on the back of Brad Riddell. He just never fought the hands. Hands are just sitting on the mat the whole time. DC talked about it. But how are you going to defend a rear naked choke when you're not defending the hands? Your hands aren't even in play. They're flat on the canvas. So a little bit disappointed in Brad Riddell. He was getting lit up on the feet prior to this. I think Moicano was winning. Brad Riddell landed some good shots, don't get me wrong. It was fun while it lasted. But Brad Riddell now on a 3-fight losing skid. I picked him to win this fight. I thought he'd win by decision. I thought both guys were super durable. I thought both guys, very rarely finished unless it's against the elite of the elite. And Moicano went out there and didn't even look like he took that 5-round absolute war loss against Rafael dos Anjos. So it just, Riddell disappointed me with not fighting with his hands. Moving down the card, another really upsetting one. Dominick Reyes versus Ryan Spann. I said going into this fight, I thought Dominick Reyes wins first round TKO. But I said regardless of how this fight goes, I think it ends in the first round. And give me 1 second. I said I was a little bit leery about picking Dominick Reyes because I thought he was the more technical fighter. I think he's the more well-rounded fighter, but Ryan Spann has nasty one-punch KO power. Ryan Spann is basically a heavyweight fighting in the light heavyweight division. And Dominick Reyes' chin and his nose is gone. Maybe gone. His chin at least, but his nose is definitely gone. And everything Dominick Reyes got hit with in this fight, it rocked him. And Reyes landed a couple good shots, a couple good counters. Going into this fight, he was talking about how great his defense was. And, this might be time for Dominick Reyes to hang it up, to be quite honest. I know that sounds crazy. But loses to John Jones, controversial decision. Gets starched by Jan Blachowicz. Gets brutally spinning back elbow KO'd by Yuri Prohaska. And now Ryan Spann knocks him out. So I don't want to take the win away from Ryan Spann, but at the same time, I don't know what this Dominick Reyes is anymore. I really don't, guys. I really don't know who he is anymore. He took a year and a half off. He looked slow in there. Everything that he got hit with just hurt him badly. And this was a jab. This was a jab that put him out. And it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. And the commentary team was saying there was some kind of wind up. To me, I watched it 3 times. It looked like a jab. I think the jab put Dominick Reyes out. And I know Ryan Spann is super powerful. But I think the chin of Dominick Reyes is gone. The nose of Dominick Reyes is gone. The hairline of Dominick Reyes is gone. And I don't know if he's going to have the will to get back in there anymore. I wouldn't. I mean, imagine you get flatlined 3 straight times. I wouldn't want to ever get in there again. So I think this may be the last we saw of Dominick Reyes. And it was super unfortunate. Moving down the card, Erin, Blanchfield, Molly McCann. Finally a pick that I got right yet again. This is one that I predicted pretty good. I took Erin Blanchfield by a dominating decision, but Erin Blanchfield just brutalized her and got a first round finish. I mean, it was insanity. She took Molly McCann down fairly early in the round, dominated on the ground, got the crucifix, beat the living shit out of her with the crucifix, and eventually was able to submit her in the first round. I mean, Molly McCann really had nothing to offer. I think it was a Kimura that she finished her with. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. There were so many fights, it's hard to remember everything without going back and rewatching. I'll rewatch this card for sure, at least all the notable fights, just to kind of get a better grasp on what happened. Because there's things you miss in the first time watching when tension's running high that you can catch on a rewatch. But Erin Blanchfield just dominated her. Molly McCann had nothing to offer. There was a couple times where I thought Molly McCann's arm was going to get ripped off. And she was grunting and grinding in there, but she had nothing. I mean, Molly McCann has beat nothing but bumps, okay? She's beat nothing but bumps. And she's riding the popularity coattails of Patty Pimlet. And Erin Blanchfield went out there and proved what we all kind of knew. And I thought this was going to be an easy win for Erin Blanchfield. And sure enough, it was. Moving down the card, Andre Petroski versus Wellington Turman. Turman looked good early in this fight, but Petroski was able to get it done. He landed some big shots on the feet and basically was able to get it done with his grappling in the second and third round. I think 2 judges had it 30-27. I thought Turman took the first round, landed better shots on the feet. But Petroski getting it done with his grappling. I thought he was going to gas out after I saw that first round, but he was able to do well in those second and third rounds and get the decision. I thought he won 29-28. Early prelims, Matt Frevola, Ottman, Azaitar. Matt Frevola goes out there and steamrolls Ottman, Azaitar. I mean, Frevola looked out. He went out there like a man on a mission. And, I mean, he just, I think it was, Ottman kind of was like dodging big shots and then eventually tried to close the distance. And Frevola landed, they were like kind of a clinch position. Frevola landed 2 big rights that kind of rocked him a little bit in the clinch position. And then a nasty left hand just put him down. It was absolutely brutal. And Matt Frevola steamrolls Ottman Azaitar. I think that long layoff and all those potatoes and all that jumping around with the backpack in Abu Dhabi did him a disservice. I will say this. Ottman did look like he had some ring rust in there. And also, he looked like he's aged a lot. Azaitar looks like he's aged a lot. Matt Frevola does call out Paddy Pimblett afterwards, so I think that's very interesting. I doubt the UFC will do that. I think Matt Frevola beats Paddy Pimblett. But Paddy Pimblett has a fight against Jared Gordon at UFC 282. Matt Frevola called him out. They may very well make that fight. We're not going to... The rest of these early prelims, I don't think, there's too much worth talking about. So, guys, start putting questions in the chat. Put a question mark at the end of your thing so I can really kind of sift through the chat because I know the chat's going to be kind of crazy. Such a big event. But real quickly, Carolina Kowalkiewicz wins via decision. Not a very eventful fight. Weird scorecard debacle at the end where they were like switching the scorecards around. Took them like 5 minutes to get a decision. If that was a big fight, if Adesanya Pereira went to a decision and they did that and that, oh my God, the MMA conspiracies will be running wild. An absolute debacle. But Carolina Kowalkiewicz clearly won this fight. Mike Trizano, Choi Seung Woo. Incredible fight. Double knockdown. Both guys stinging each other on the feet. Eventually, Mike Trizano gets the KO in the first round. Julio Arce, Montel Jackson. Not a particularly great fight, but Montel Jackson gets it done. Hurt him badly. I didn't watch this fight super closely, but Montel hurt him at one point in time. I think it was in the second or third round. And basically, Arce just really had nothing to offer. I don't know why I picked him in this fight. And then the first fight on the card, Carlos Ulberg gets a finish over Nikolai Negumereanu, I think is how you pronounce it. I always butcher his last name. But Ulberg gets the KO. I think he landed a nasty right hand in the first round and puts him to sleep. So, a mixed bag for the guys from City Kickboxing. Ulberg gets it done. Riddell gets brutalized. Dan Hooker gets it done. And Izzy gets 5th round KO'd. Incredible fight card, guys. Really enjoyed it. And really looking forward to the matchups that will come out of this fight card. So, before I get to questions, if you have not already, do me a favor and like this stream. I do streams like this after every big event. And I do streams pretty much a couple times a week. We talk about everything going on in the MMA world. So like the stream, subscribe to the channel as well. I would greatly appreciate it. We're going to get to some questions now. So if you have questions, throw them in the chat. Let's see what we got here. I'm just going to pick a random spot. We will start here. What's up, Niles? Great fight card. Agreed. 3-0 definitely has his number. We'll see. 3 matches a true legacy fight for Izzy. Yeah, if Izzy wins that fight, if Izzy gets a rematch and wins that fight, all is forgiven for sure. Such high-level grappling scrambles in the co-main. Esparza is such a high level in exchanges when wrestling. She keeps up with Weili's explosion. It was nice to see. It was nice to see. Weili showed great grappling as well. No rematch, but I don't see Alex being the champion that long. His ground defense sucks. I agree 100%. As far as the second part, there has to be a rematch, though. Main event or Poirier Chandler fight of the night? I think the main event. Such high stakes on the line. I think it has to be the main event. That's the fight of the night. Horrible stoppage. Izzy was winning a world title fight and didn't even fall. Why would the ref mark Goddard? Stop it. I don't get it. I mean, he looked out on his feet. So, I got 8 out of 9 on this one. Only Edgar couldn't get the win. Okay. Main card went 3-2. I don't miss on these predictions. I'm a menace. I'm glad. Do you think Dominick Reyes is going to retire? I hope so. I think so. I will say I think so. I mean, getting brutally KO'd in 3 straight fights. Probably. With Alex Pereira now as champ, I think this forms an isolated group between Izzy, Alex, and Hamza, where one might beat the other but lose to the other based on how styles match up. I did see Hamza Chimaev tweeting out, give me the title shot. I think Hamza could beat Pereira, but Pereira's humongous. So, I would lean Hamza Chimaev in that fight. I had to see him sized up, but Hamzat's grappling, I mean, I think he would dominate Pereira in the grappling if the size isn't too much for him. Dariush versus Max Holloway, absolutely not. That's the other thing. I do have a video on the channel right now, guys. I released UFC 284. Alexander Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev was officially announced. You can check out that video. And also, after I made that video, it was officially announced the co-main event of that UFC 284 card will be Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett for the interim featherweight title. Dariush versus Max Holloway, I disagree. I don't want to see that. I think Max stays at featherweight. And I think Hamzat would be smaller in middleweight. The fights would be even if he fought Alex or Izzy. I think Izzy beats Hamzat, but I think Alex loses to Hamzat. Early predictions, though. Very early predictions. I'm devastated. Bring the broom out. I feel a sweep coming. Izzy's kryptonite. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's really Izzy's kryptonite. I just think he got clipped, you know? He won the vast majority of the fight, and he got clipped. Pereira got that Leon Edwards speech after the 4th round. I know. I was thinking of that when they were telling him. The Peruvian that kept spamming heel hooks was annoying AF. Dude was dragging his ass. 10-9 on all judges' scorecards. On all judges' scorecard? Okay. Jay, I'm legit devastated. I've never been this sad in watching sports. This is the worst. Then Mexico getting robbed in the World Cup. Worse than LeBron losing the Warriors. I'm sorry you feel that way. Which fight are you disappointed about? Those headshots were dirty. Thank God Pereira won. What a fresh breath of air. Yeah, but Izzy could win his belt right back. Could you imagine? Because both of them are similar, you know, Adesanya, Pereira, and Usman versus Leon. If both Izzy and Usman gain their belt back, that'd be massive for their legacy. Rogan and DC writing his obituary before a KO once again. That is very true. I mean, how many times do we hear, he's hurt, or he's in real trouble here tonight? Armin versus Demir set for December 17th. Yes, it is. In what world does any judge give Poirier 10-8 in the first round? He won round, but 10... Dude, he almost he almost finished him. He was out on his feet. If that ain't a 10-8, I don't know what is. Just because Chandler got a takedown and landed some shots early negates the fact that Dustin Poirier almost murdered him in the last minute. Told Joey that UFC 281 is greater than UFC 280 back when you did that poll. Fair enough. On paper, not early though. Something tells me Dustin won't want that Beneil fight. Dustin deserves anything he wants right now at this point, pretty much, outside of a title shot. A judge gave Poirier 10-8. They should have the first round, I think. Izzy was about to win. Bro, he had gone limp. He was able to look at Pereira. His hands were dangling. He looked at Pereira. They showed an angle where he was looking up at Pereira. I think he would have got finished regardless, okay? So you got to listen to what I'm saying, not what you think you're hearing. Izzy needs to wrestle better, man. Like he trains his wrestling, BJJ, and judo, okay? I want Poirier versus Beneil, Dustin versus Justin too. Are we just going to keep recycling the same guys over and over and over again? Chandler versus Connor? Sign me up. That's what I said as well. Islam now pound for pound number 2? Maybe so. Maybe so. Is Pereira going to jump into pound for pound? Imagine Pereira versus Izzy. If I'm Pereira, I say I want to go up to 205. I don't want to rematch Izzy. Dustin versus Colby. Nobody wants to see that, dude. Colby versus Chandler. Not really. This is card of the year. Every single fight was amazing. I wouldn't go that far, but it may vary. I wouldn't, as far as every single fight was amazing. I mean, amazing is a bit much, okay? Carolina, Kowalkiewicz, Silvana, Gomez, Juárez. No. Julio, Arce, Montel Jackson. No. But this was probably the best fight card of the year. Look, I will agree with that. I will concede that. Chandler, dude, you throwing out the weirdest matchups ever. Dude, same thing last fight. Izzy was beating him and got caught, and it happened once again. I know, had he had 10 more seconds in the first round, he'd have finished Pereira. Izzy lost, plain and simple. Alex, just a tough matchup for him. He almost beat him. Come on, calm down. We need to see no rematch. Dude, that's the most... If you don't think Izzy should get a rematch and you don't want to see a rematch, let me tell you this right now. You are just an Izzy hater. There is no reason you shouldn't want to see a rematch after watching that amazing competitive fight. Frankie's chin is so Dominick Reyes. Frankie's chin is gone, so is Dominick Reyes. Shame on you, Claudio. I agree. Dan Hooker's opponent was trash. What a bum. Claudio Puelles needs a clown suit. Cut him from the UFC, honestly. Puelles looks like he trains with Paul Craig. Izzy is Alex's son forever. No need for a rematch. No. No. Anderson Silva has always been the middleweight. Agreed. I'm still processing life right now. What a card. I know. Imagine my reaction to that 5th round stoppage had I been on stream. I thought that. I was like, oh man, I should have maybe done it. Israel didn't have the theatric walkout, so he wouldn't get memed after the fight, maybe. Reyes sucks. He hasn't been the same since the John Jones fight, dude. He got bludgeoned by Jan Blachowicz. My friend. He got absolutely bludgeoned by Jan Blachowicz. So, and that was immediately after the John Jones fight. So, it's sad, but it's what happens in MMA. It happens all the time in MMA. People just fall off a cliff. And I think Dominick Reyes' chin is completely gone. Brad Riddell's matchmaking is terrible. Yeah, I mean, Rafael Fiziev, Renato Moicano, Jalen Turner. I don't think Izzy and Pereira deserve an immediate... Dude, you're delusional then. Reyes looked out of shape. He looked like off the... Nah, I don't think he did. He always looks really skinny. Reyes, Warsh, Dominick, Garbrandt. What a fluke of a fight. I wouldn't call it a fluke. I think Reyes may have to settle as the guy who people think beat John Jones. He lost the juice. That's very unfortunate, but I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. That's what he is going to be forever. The John Jones curse lives on. Alex going for the sweep. 4-0. We're definitely seeing the rematch. There's no doubt. I mean, I'm going to go look and see if there's anything on Twitter from the press conference. So let me take a look real quick. Let's see if there's any updates from the press conference. Luke Rockhold tweeted out, I'll be back. White says the UFC is laser focused on holding an event in Africa and mentions Nigeria specifically. In terms of a potential rematch, Dana White wants to show Adesanya the respect he deserves and credit him for diving right into Pereira fight and wanting to stay active. Dana said he had no problem with I don't care about Dana's thought on the stoppage. White says the UFC is still working on UFC 283 and isn't sure if Figueroa versus Moreno 4 will serve as a main event. So it looks like, that the most it looks like the most you can take away is Adesanya will get the rematch, according to him. Apparently, Dylan Dennis got slapped by Nate Diaz outside of MSG, is what I'm hearing, which is hilarious. But there's probably no video of it. Yeah, so I think that's all the important stuff that I could see right now. Keep the questions coming, guys. Keep the questions coming. I'm trying to catch up, and my chat just scrolled way far down. Okay, here we were. Chandler's 2-3 in the UFC now, and you think it's worth for him to keep his head up? I mean, he's such an exciting fighter. He'll always have a place in the UFC. Nate just slapped Dylan Dennis. Now he got slapped. So much title changes. It's crazy. Usman, Charles, now Izzy. I know. 2 titles changes hands tonight. 50K Ryan Spann. No, Ryan Spann missed weight. 50K Trizano missed weight. Fight of the night, Chandler, Poirier. Butchered the spelling of Poirier, but yes. So, fight of the night, Chandler, Poirier. Performance of the night, Pereira. But I don't know. Fight of the night, Adesanya should get fight of the night as well. Pereira's Izzy's counter. Let's do Bobby Green, Dan Hooker. Or do Dan Hooker, Jalen Turner? I hate to throw him to the Wolves again. Does Blanchfield deserve a bonus? Maybe. Pereira was always going to win. Dude, he was losing the majority of the fight. Okay, let's be real here. He got the win, but I mean, he didn't get dominated. I'm not saying that by any means, but he needed the 5th round to get that KO. Even if he would have won the 5th round, he would have lost the fight. I would do Poirier versus Fiziev or Gamrot. Dude, Poirier versus Gamrot would be fun. Poirier versus Fiziev would be fun, but I think Poirier gets starched out. Number 1 pound for pound, and Islam number 2 pound for pound. Yeah, that's probably what it's going to be, and they're going to promote that heading into the fight. If Izzy wins the rematch, does Alex get the trilogy? Yes. The media was harassing Dana at the post-fight scrum. They got him to say that negotiations aren't going well with Francis and Stipe might be retired. Who the hell is going to fight John Jones? Curtis Blades. I want to know what's... And Ngannou was there tonight. Thoughts on the interim featherweight championship? I'm probably going to make a video about it. But... I'm not a big fan of the interim belt, honestly. Pereira can KO Whitaker before grappling exchanges happen. Thoughts on this matchup? I think it's possible. Whitaker will be massively undersized for Pereira. But I think Whitaker probably gets to the legs and takes him down. It would be hard for Chimaev to take him down. I don't know. I don't think so. Technically, Alex Pereira should be... No, that's not how it works. But the pound-for-pound rankings are bullshit anyway. Yes, Alex would deserve a trilogy if Adesanya wins the rematch. He gets steamrolling without the worry of getting KO'd. Dude, he almost got KO'd early. Who has better stand-up, Hamzat or Pereira? Is that even a real serious question? That's the dumbest question I ever heard of Pereira. 284 is already stacked. What a card. I agree. You have the main super fight. You have the co-main interim title fight, which is a great fight regardless of the interim title. You have Paulo Costa, Robert Whitaker. Incredible card. Arnold Allen has been robbed. I don't know about all that. Got to respect Chandler for putting on entertaining fights against top guys. Agreed. Who wins Fiziev or Poirier in what round? I would say Fiziev, but it'd be a very compelling fight. And I'll say Fiziev. Does he finish him? I say he won't finish him. He'll win by decision. Hamzat versus Cannonier at 185. Who do you got? I would take Hamzat. Izzy was 1 inch from getting KO'd the whole fight. That's irrelevant. We live in realities here, okay? Does Dustin win solidify Khabib as a lightweight GOAT? No. Dustin's win has nothing to do with solidifying Khabib's lightweight GOAT status. He's already the lightweight GOAT. Honestly, people said Alex would gas out soon. He went almost the whole 25 minutes. That is true. He was tired, but it seemed like in those middle rounds, he kind of relaxed a little bit, and he was saving up his energy for that 5th round KO. He was recharging his finisher. I have more respect for Izzy now, even after that loss. I mean, how could you not? What a fight. What an absolute fight he put on. Chandler almost choked out Poirier in the second. He fish hooked him and punched him in the back of the head. It was disturbing. Should have been taking a point away. Honestly, he needs to get fined for that. Yair versus Emmett, early pick. I'm going to go Yair. But Emmett could wrestle him. I hate how people are saying Izzy doesn't deserve a rematch immediately because his 2 losses in a different organization in a different sport 5 years ago. Yeah, it's delusional. I swear you got to dominate a guy for a whole 5 minutes to make sure people think it's a 10-8. Thoughts on Pereira taking Izzy down in the second round? It's pretty interesting. I don't think Izzy saw it coming. I think Dustin going to sit out and wait for Islam Volk winner. Dustin doesn't want... I don't think Dustin wants that Islam fight, dude. He knows he's going to get mauled. Everybody going to lose in the UFC if you fight for a long time. Agreed. Who wins, Colby or Oliveira? Colby. You second-guessed your original pick on the Izzy fight. How many times can you think of that you had a gut feeling would win, but after researching, picked the wrong guy? Literally all the time. All the time. All the time it happens. Almost every time. It makes me want to stop ever switching my picks. Izzy, Pereira, Whitaker going to play musical chairs with middleweight title, we'll say. Dylan Danish just got in a fight with Nate Diaz. If Izzy... Oh, no, I just lost my spot again. I just lost my spot, guys. Keep the questions coming. If Izzy doesn't get a rematch, who else would he fight? He beat everyone else. It's going to be a rematch. There's no doubt about it. Anybody saying he doesn't deserve it is just an Izzy hater. I'll put a poll in the chat real quick because does Izzy deserve a rematch. Let's see what everyone thinks. I told you this was the new era of champs. After Leon won, I predicted Islam would win and Weili would win and Pereira would win. You scoffed at that. Dude, I like how you're just bringing up, oh, I sent a message and this and that, blah, blah, blah. I mean, literally, that's not even a bold prediction. That's not even a bold prediction. Weili was definitely going to win. Islam was a 50-50 fight. And Pereira Adesanya was a 50-50 fight. Stop acting like it was a bold prediction. And then, oh my God, you typed it one time. And now you're bringing it up. I'm sure you typed plenty of things that were wrong. But cool. You know that meme of that kid sitting at a computer? This is me right now. Does Poirier have a chance against Volk? Who wins that fight and by what method? Yes, Poirier does have a chance. I don't know. I would go Poirier by decision. But it jumped down yet again, by the way. Where was I at now? Do you think Izzy missed his chance to close the deal in the fourth? Yes, he was winning early on the feet in the fourth round, just lighting him up on the feet. And I don't know why, but then again, it's hard to say, press him. Dana wasn't 100% on the sold on the rematch, it seemed. It's definitely going to be a rematch. It's always the slept on the card that are the best, 277 and 275. 275 was amazing. I feel bad for Hamza. He was going to fight Usman if he beat Edwards, and he was probably going to fight Izzy if he beat Pereira. Now they both get an immediate rematch. If Izzy reads, yes, I already answered that. 2 out of the 3 African champs have lost. Astute observation. How could I ever saw that? Imagine if Pereira threw a knee at the end there. I know he would have brutalized him. That's why I said I think he would have finished him, but I would have liked to have seen it last another 5-10 seconds. Dom is the new meme king, unfortunately. Ngannou next. Joey, I cannot freaking wait for Islam versus Volk. Do you think Islam deserves credit for being active? That's 6 fights in less than 2 years. Yes, he does deserve credit for being active. Will he get it? Probably not. Hi, MMA Joey. Was this the last supercard of the year? And what about Poirier Gaethje 2? Poirier Gaethje 2 would be a lot of fun. I think that's what Gaethje's going to campaign for. And yes, this was the last supercard of the year. 282 is good, but I don't think it's going to be as good as this. Cyril Gama fight John Jones. That could happen too. Chandler was doing some dirty stuff. I hated the punches to the back of the head. It's always a slap on the... Yeah, I read that. I hate Izzy because I think he shouldn't got the rematch. Well, you're wrong, period. Izzy and Alex fought 3 times. Dude, that's the dumbest thing. They have not fought 3 times in MMA. They fought 1 time in MMA, and Izzy's been a dominant champion. He almost won that fight, and he lost. If you don't think he deserves a rematch, you are just a straight-up Izzy hater because you're not an MMA fan, and you're an idiot. If you don't think Izzy deserves a rematch, you are an idiot. A straight-up idiot. It makes absolutely no sense. It's the only fight you should want to see, regardless if you like Izzy or not. I mean, it's the best fight they can make in the middleweight division, and everything points to it. You had a dominant champion who was winning a fight and lost in the 5th round. In an amazing fight, maybe even fight of the year contender. Why would you not rebook that? Dumbest fucking thing I ever heard. Anybody saying that, I think you're an idiot. And I think you're an Izzy hater as well. And I don't even necessarily love Izzy, but if you think he doesn't deserve a rematch, I mean, you want to watch Pereira fight Whitaker? You want to watch Pereira fight Vettori? Yeah, that's great. We'll get Vettori the belt. Do you think they can make Valentina versus Santos 2 as co-main for 283? I hope not. God, no. It needs to be a featured fight on the main card. Who has worse stand-up, Carla or Pena? Pena, probably. I feel like Dustin doesn't have a thirst to win the belt, and that's why he said he should just fight a thriller versus welterweight. Maybe Luke Rockhold tweeted, I'll be back. I did see that. Let's see if there's anything else that's popped up on the feed. Yeah, I see White said Stipe may not fight. Yeah, this is crazy. This is crazy. White said that Nate Diaz came to the event tonight and had a quick chat for him. Says he isn't surprised Diaz got in a scuffle with... Okay, I'm not... That's irrelevant. Hamzat called out Alex. What are the odds that fight happens? Unlikely. Israel Adesanya will get a rematch. What's up? Keep out. Give Arnold Allen, Brian Ortega. Agreed. Some big fights to be made in 2023. I talked about this the other day. I think 2023 is going to be massive. What would Pereira need to do and become middleweight GOAT? You need to rack together like a 10-fight win streak, 8-fight win streak. He was winning till he wasn't. Agreed. Bro, I said standing TKO win for Pereira this whole week in the chat jokingly. Well, good pick. I don't remember that, but good pick. Isn't this crazy? Usman was about to tie Silva's overall winning record and got KO'd. Izzy was about to tie Silva's middleweight win record and got KO'd. Yes, it is very crazy. I cannot believe that has happened. Who do you think wins between Gaethje and Gamrot? Probably Gamrot, but I could see Gaethje chinning him. Gamrot's hands are terrible, to be quite honest. Did Izzy leg kick get checked in round 5, causing him to flip, or did he slip? I think that's what happened. I didn't see a replay. They never showed the replay, but yes. You said fight of the year. Izzy was piecing him up most of the time. This was one of my favorite fights of the year. Izzy did very well and looked very good on the feet, but Pereira was just slinging forward, chopping with that left hand, chopping the legs, throwing good body kicks as well. This was a great fight. This is one of my, and the thing is, it was so high level, and it was for the biggest stakes, and it had momentum swings, and it had a crazy ending. So for me, that's all the factors of one of the best fights of the year. It wasn't just bleed guy in the crowd screaming, CTE championship fight, but it was an amazing fight. Pereira versus Yuri in a way would be more competitive than Yuri versus Izzy. Probably. Dustin Poirier says a fight against Beneil Dariush makes sense, wouldn't commit, but said Dariush has earned his stripes. I would agree with that. Pereira brought the best out of Izzy. Great high-level fight. As an Izzy hater, I respect him now. I mean, how can you not? How can you not respect him at this point? 2 African champs have lost their belt. Does this mean UFC Africa plans ruin? Absolutely not, dude. They don't have to be champions to fight at UFC Africa. But we'll see. I think they'll eventually do it, but it was never going to happen in the immediate future, It might happen in 2020, late 20. I don't even think it happens in 2020. I don't think it happens in 2023. Maybe 2024 at best. Adesanya, Usman may be retired by then. Ngannou may be at another promotion by then. So 75% agree with me that Izzy deserves a title shot. The other 25% are just Izzy haters and idiots, if you ask me. But everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but so am I. Guys, real quick. We are almost to 6,000 subscribers. We are exactly 67 subscribers away. So if a bunch of you guys from the chat go and subscribe to the channel right now, let's see how many people we got in the chat right now. We got 118 people in the chat. If there's 67 of you that's not subscribed, go subscribe. And you could be one of the first 6,000 subscribers. So go do that for me. We'll do questions for maybe another 15 minutes or so. So keep the questions coming. Lots of lurkers. Yeah, if you guys are lurking in the chat, let me know. Also, like the stream. If you have not liked the stream yet, do me a favor and like the stream. I would greatly appreciate that. I'm hoping we hit 6,000 subscribers tomorrow, honestly. Do we see Gregor Gillespie fight by this time next year? I'd like to see Gillespie versus Dawson. I think Gillespie versus Dawson would be interesting. But the answer to your question is no. We do not see Gillespie fight. Gillespie's in witness protection. Gregor Gillespie, I mean, he's probably still calling out the dead corpse of Tony Ferguson. So you think I hate Izzy because I think he doesn't deserve a rematch? Yes. Why did Izzy dip and not get interviewed after the fight? I don't know. Maybe he had an injured leg or something. I don't know. You never know. Maybe he didn't feel like doing an interview. I hope we don't start to see Michael Chandler go on an L streak. I think it's probably going to happen. I mean, Chandler just fights so crazy and the chin is not there. I had a feeling all week Izzy was going to lose. I'm sure. By liking the stream, do you mean just like the video? It means scroll down and hit the little thumbs up button. It helps promote the stream. These streams is, the way they're recommended is based on the algorithm. How many people are watching, how many people are participating in the chat, how many people like the stream, how many people share it, tweet it out, Any bit of support, guys, I would greatly appreciate it. We're cruising to 10,000 soon. And we're almost to 6,000. You think Izzy's done? Absolutely not. I think Izzy will be back. Can he beat Alex? It's going to be, I mean, it's going to have to fight some mental warfare in his mind. Because now that Pereira put him out of there in the 5th round, and now he's got to go back out there and put on he's got to put on a flawless performance. Pereira just needs one punch. So Pereira just lands one punch, and if he lands, he can put you to sleep. But this could be the beginning of the downfall of Izzy, to be honest. What do you think is next for Ryan Spann? Let me take a look at the rankings real quick. Let me take a look. He could fight. I mean, Anthony Smith supposedly is fighting Jamal Hill, but that's not official. I say you do Ryan Spann versus maybe Alexander Rakic if he's ready to return. I think that'd be an interesting fight. You know, if he's ready to return, do the Alexander Rakic fight. Ryan Spann, Alexander Rakic would be fun. Alex came out of no way and straight took Izzy's belt. Yep, in 1 year. 1 year from a debut to taking someone who's been a long reigning champion's belt. What's more likely chance Usman beats Leon in a rematch or Izzy beats Pereira in a rematch because both champs got beat? If I had to say which one, I think Usman beats Leon in a rematch. I'm more confident in that. The Brazilian guy has a one-hitter quitter, agreed, but he might never win a belt again. He's not done. Anderson Silva holds the record, 16 straight wins. Fizzy sounds better. What are you talking about? Izzy needs to get Rocky 4 mode. I'm not even sure what that means. But yeah, there's no doubt in my mind we will see an Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira second fight in MMA. You know, even though people are saying, oh, he doesn't deserve the rematch. He will get a rematch. He deserves a rematch. There's no one else that deserves a title fight more than him. And it's going to be very interesting what kind of adjustments he makes. I'll tell you this. The footwork will be far more prevalent, I think. Because I think that's a key to his loss here. Was Pereira cutting off the cage? And is he getting far too comfortable with his back against the cage? Because then, you know, you only have your lateral movement rather than your forward and backward movement. You know, you can only go 2 ways instead of 4. That's a massive advantage when you're fighting an elite level striker. A massive advantage for the guy who's not up against the fence is what I'm saying there. Do the rematches then give us super fight with the year? You really don't want to see these grapplers who lost to Izzy get a belt. Yeah, who knows? If Izzy wins, there'll probably be a trilogy. This loss will take a toll on Izzy mentally. I think so. It's just embarrassing. He can't say he's the best. Between the new champs, Leon, Islam, Alex, who has the best chance of coming out 2023 as the champ? Islam. I don't see anyone beating Islam right now as it stands. You getting that UFC game for that new cover? What the hell does that even mean? What does that even mean? That game's been out for like 3 years. They're fighting for the cover of a 3-year-old game and no one's going to buy? What the fuck is that all about? Who gives a shit, EA Sports? You're the worst company ever. You make the shittest games ever. THQ made better games 10 years ago. Oh, the main event's fighting for the title. Not fighting for the title. Fighting for the cover of a shit game that's been out for 2 to 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. What the fuck kind of promotion is that? That's some bullshit if I ever heard it. And they kept saying it all night. I mean, who gave a fuck? I'd want to lose the fight just so I didn't have to be on a piss poor game cover. I think Izzy threw the fight. He's like, you know what? I don't like EA Sports. I don't want to be on the cover. That shit is corny as hell. But no, the answer to your question, absolutely not. I'm not getting the game, and I hate EA Sports. Whitaker can beat Pereira. Agreed. Izzy is doing a post-fight interview right now on UFC's YouTube channel. I'll have to check it out after the stream. All right, guys, couple more questions. We've gone an hour and 20 minutes. Couple more questions, and I'm out of here. I'm going to go watch some post-fight, see if there's any interesting news about with Izzy interview and whatnot. But if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I'll get to them here in a minute. Just imagine Herb was ref. He would have stopped at the end of round 1, even round 5. 5 more seconds, the end of round 1 would have been over. Nobody's beating Islam. I agree. Islam's not a crowd favorite. His style is boring. His style is not boring. That's bullshit. Mario's laughing. Appreciate you. He was rocking Izzy all night. Izzy was rocking him all night, too. They were both landing. That was funny AF. I was thinking the same thing. I mean, who's buying a game for a cover 3 years after it's been released? Fuck EA Sports. Top of the head predictions for 282. I don't know. I'm leaning Yuri. I don't even remember what else is on the card. I'm drawing a blank. I'm drawing a blank right now. But I'm leaning Yuri. There you go. Let's see. What else is on the card? I'm leaning Yuri and I'm leaning Magomed Ankalaev. That's all you're getting out of me tonight. What's up, fishing? I hope you're doing well. Well, Nate, I don't care. Rate the card 7.5 out of 10. I'd give it like an 8.5 now. If Izzy doesn't learn how to grapple, like getting better at takedowns, he isn't beating Pereira. Okay. Izzy will never beat. Okay. All he needs to do is land that punch. You don't know that. Izzy was already on the cover too. Yeah, so it makes zero sense. Just EA Sports at their absolute worst. It's just, I mean, EA Sports is the worst company ever. They make the worst decision. I mean, THQ was making better UFC games 10 years ago. EA Sports has the worst gameplay mechanics I've ever seen in my entire life. Whether it be Madden, whether it be UFC, they're microtransaction heavy, and they're just a terrible company overall. So, bro, Izzy better be careful. Almost lost a leg. I thought he broke his leg on that check kick. I really thought he broke his leg. Izzy should train in the UFC? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. What's up, Craig? I hope you're doing well. We're going to be here for like another 2 minutes, and then I'm going to get out of here. So if you guys have any final questions, throw them in the chat. Again, like the stream. We're almost to 100 likes on the stream, so I would greatly appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy these post fights. We switched to doing, live post fights, maybe like a year ago. I used to do post fight videos. So I hope you guys enjoy these live post fights. Let me know in the chat. Did you prefer when I used to do individual videos, or do you like the live post fight better? I like this format better because we jump on right away. I hate when fighters bring their children to the fights. Like, why would you risk letting your children see you get brutally KO'd? Yeah, I hate that. I hate that with an absolute passion. It's disturbing. It's idiotic. Sam Alvey has a disturbing fetish for having his young children watch him get brutally beat down over and over and over again. And apparently Frankie Edgar wanted to get in on that for a little bit. Izzy had a great run. Is he done with MMA? No, he's gonna fight Pereira in a rematch. So he might get his belt back. He may not. Joe, your hatred for EA Sports is pure comedy. The company is like boxing fight model. Dude, EA Sports is the worst company ever. If the kids are teens, I guess it's okay. Yeah, but it's crazy. Do the judges watch the fight from monitor or Raw? I think it's just Raw. I think it's just Raw. I've always campaigned that I thought judges should be... There should be a couple judges in the back watching on the monitor as well. But they'll never do that. But I would love to see how that would affect decisions. Pereira is not 3-0 against Izzy in MMA. He's 1-0 against Izzy in MMA in a fight that he was losing. It only makes sense to do a rematch. So, anyway, guys, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for joining me tonight. I really do appreciate it. It's been real. It's been fun. If you're watching this replay and you made it all the way to the end, comment down below, SpongeBob Popsicle. I greatly appreciate all you guys. UFC 281 was incredible. There'll be more content coming soon regarding UFC 281. Like the stream on your way out. Subscribe to the channel on your way out. And guys, enjoy the rest of your night. And you know what? One last thing I will say. Joe Rogan is not motivational, as somebody was saying the other day. And also, if you don't think Israel Adesanya deserves a rematch, I believe you are a hater. I meant for people watching the replay. You didn't need to say it in the chat, guys. But appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your night. Good night.